Hello, I'm Gordon Lang, editor of CameraLabs.com. I'd like to give you a brief video tour around the Sigma DP1. Here it is, the DP1. This is one of the most unique compact cameras on the market today because it's the very first model to feature nothing less than a DSLR size sensor in this relatively small form factor. Now that's really important because a typical DSLR sensor has 7 to 10 times the surface area of a normal compact camera sensor, and that in turn is what allows them to perform so much better in low light conditions. So hopefully, by equipping this camera with a DSLR sensor, the DP1 can also avoid those nasty noise artifacts that plague modern compact cameras. The DP1 sensor technology is also fairly unique. It's a Foveon X3 model, which sounds like it has a fairly low resolution. This actually outputs images with only 4.69 megapixels. But unlike every other digital camera sensor, this one captures full colour on every pixel. This in turn allows Sigma and Foveon to describe this sensor as having a total of over 14 million pixels. Confused? Well, head on over to our full review at CameraLabs.com where we'll explain exactly how the sensor in this camera works and the pros and cons compared to a normal digital camera sensor. Now it's not just in terms of its sensor that the DP1 is unique. It's also quite different in terms of its optics. Most compact cameras, of course, have zoom lenses, and stabilised ones these days as well. Well, there's no stabilisation on the DP1 and no zoom either. If I press the power button, you'll see that the lens does in fact extend, but it has a fixed focal length that's equivalent to 28mm. So the DP1 has decent wide-angle coverage, but of course nothing else. If you want the subject to appear bigger, you'll just have to get closer to it. The DP1 also features very good manual control and also manual focusing, and we're going to continue this video by taking a closer look at those controls. On the upper left side of the DP1's body, you'll find this lever here. Push it to the right and the flash pops up. When you're finished with it, just push it back down again. In the middle of the body you'll find a flash hot shoe. This is for an external flash gun accessory. Alternatively, you can mount an optical viewfinder here, and I'll show you how that looks in just a moment. To the right of that, a power button, and then the main mode dial, and catering for its enthusiast audience, you'll see the DP1 offers program, aperture, shutter priority, and full manual control. And unusually for a camera with a DSLR size sensor, there's a movie mode, although on the DP1 it only records QVGA resolution, that's 320 by 240 pixels. To the right of this you'll find the shutter release button and a manual focusing dial here. If you turn this you can actually very finely adjust the DP1's manual focus. It's motor assisted, but there's certainly a lot of fine steps. Although the closest focusing distance is only 30 centimeters, which isn't anywhere near as close as a typical compact camera. Around the back you'll see the usual controls like the 4 cross keys with a menu OK button in the middle, and some zoom controls here. Now the DP1 doesn't have an optical zoom lens. You can use this to activate an optional digital zoom, or of course use them to zoom in and out of images and playback. But you will notice that very few of these buttons feature white labelling like this focus here. Most of them are actually engraved, and you really do have to adjust the camera to catch the light to often read what's written on the buttons. To the right side behind this flap you'll find a USB and TV output and a DC input for an optional AC adapter. And underneath the camera is the battery compartment. Here you'll find a lithium-ion battery pack and a slot for SD memory cards. The DP1 also has a number of optional accessories. I've got it mounted here with the filter adapter and lens hood, and also an optional optical viewfinder that you can use for composition instead of the screen. Now these are quite nice accessories to have, but obviously they significantly increase the size of the DP1, so it's getting that much closer to a compact DSLR. We're outside with the DP1, so let's see how long it takes to power up. Press the power button, and allegedly 4 seconds or so later the live view appears on the screen and you're ready to go. Now at this point in our videos we'd normally show you the optical zoom range of the camera, but of course the DP1 has a fixed focal length lens at an equivalent of 28mm. So you'll be capturing a nice wide angle view as you can see here. There's no image stabilisation to demonstrate either, so it's straight on with the graphics on the screen. If you press the monitor button to the lower right of the screen, you can first of all overlay a grid for alignment. Now if you have an older DP1 you'll need to update the firmware to see the grid, and the very latest version will also show the shooting information at the same time. Press the button once more and you get a clean image. Again it goes off, and once again you're back with the normal shooting info, and you can see down there the aperture and shutter speed. And of course the really nice thing about the DP1 is you have full manual control over both. If I switch it to aperture priority at the top, I can use the left and right keys to adjust the f number. You can see me adjust that there. If I change it to shutter priority, the same buttons adjust the shutter speed. And in full manual mode, the left and right buttons by default adjust the shutter, and if you press the exposure compensation button, you can switch that to adjust the aperture instead. So as you can see, full control over the exposure on the DP1. One of the other nice features of the DP1 is its manual focusing capability. If you press the up arrow, you can switch the DP1 first to its full range autofocus mode and then once more to enter the manual focusing, and you'll notice the distance scale on the screen. Now you can use the dial on the top of the camera to adjust the focusing distance as seen on the scale, and there's quite a few fine increments. Now of course you can't really confirm the focus when the whole image is occupying the screen, but if you press the monitor button again, you can enlarge a central portion for a closer look. Let's just do this now. So there you can see that center portion magnified, and now if we adjust the manual focus, you can see you can get that pretty much spot on. Now if you want to adjust anything like sensitivity, you've got to go into the main menu system. There you can see the sensitivity, which stops at 800 ISO. From here you can also adjust the image size. You can also adjust the image quality, and you'll see a RAW mode here, but sadly not a RAW plus JPEG. And also on this page you can change the color settings, perhaps to sepia or black and white effect. If we go down and have a look at some of the other options, you'll see you can change the AF area, bracketing options. There's a digital zoom option, contrast, sharpness and saturation adjustments, and each of those last three are adjustable by 5 steps up or 5 steps back down again, so that's pretty fine control you've got there. Now let's take a look at the DP1 in playback mode. Here's a picture that we took earlier in RAW mode, and if you press the monitor button you can cycle through some various options. First of all, it switches the shooting information off, and now you get more detailed information with a red, green and blue histogram in the top right corner. You can also use the zoom keys to zoom in closer to the picture and of course scroll around for a closer look. Or you can zoom straight back out again until you're displaying the full image, and then out once more to display a series of thumbnails. The Sigma DP1 is certainly a unique compact camera. In fact, there's nothing else on the market like it. It features a DSLR size sensor and couples it with a decent degree of manual control and a superb quality but fixed focal length lens. In all these respects it's very impressive, and get the DP1 under the right conditions and it can deliver some excellent quality. But under other conditions it's not so impressive, and it should also be noted that the handling is not very quick on this camera. It takes a while to power up, it's not that quick at autofocusing, and you're also waiting a few seconds for it to record its images, so this is certainly not the camera for you if you're into any kind of spontaneous or action photography. It should also be mentioned that even though it's a compact camera, it's missing out on a lot of the luxuries that you'll find on a modern compact. You already know it doesn't have a zoom lens or image stabilization, but the movie mode is also fairly average. There's no face detection, scene presets, or any of those kind of features. However, it's important to note that those kind of features are not the sort of thing that the DP1's target audience are interested in. What they really want is DSLR quality in a compact portable body. So the big question is, does the DP1 deliver? Well, you know what I'm going to say next. Head on over to our full review at cameralabs.com to find out. There we've directly compared the DP1 against the Canon EOS 450D or Rebel XSI, and also the Panasonic Lumix FX500, which is the flagship compact camera in their current range. So to see how this camera measures up against those other types of cameras, head on over to our full review. You'll find it, as always, at www.cameralabs.com.